Mm. Thank you, Larisa, for joining us with this Trust Talks. That is an occasion for me and experts from different countries to share our thoughts about the situation in our countries, about the trust, how much we trust, is the level of trust less than it was before, how it affects different areas of our societal life and what we can do. And I'm very happy to have you on these talks too, because based on your expertise in education, I guess you can share some insights about that sphere. Do you think the institutional organization of education also miss some needed trust, or it's a factor that can enhance trust? So I would be happy if you share your insights about Moldova and globally, how it is manifested in Moldova and what is the situation.
First of all, thank you for inviting me. I was happy to hear from people that I had the possibility to meet during the GFM in 2019. Yeah. And I'm happy to hear from people from time to time, because it's a really good occasion to keep in touch and to, compare things going on in different countries. And if I speak about the events or the things happening here in Moldova, especially concerning education, yes, of course, everybody is very, very, very affected by the situation. And the level of trust is getting lower and lower with every other day. One recent example, for example, why people don't trust the government, for example, starting with this and the Ministry of Education in our case. We had autumn break, like schools were to have a very short, initially 4-day vacation. But first the ministry said that they will make it a little longer and added 2 days, like 2 working days to the vacation. And afterwards, for big cities or cities where the pandemic situation was really difficult, they decided to make the vacation even more longer, adding to it a week. And now the teachers, what happens after this? The teachers have to cover up the hours they have lost them during these added days of vacations. So the teachers are now literally doing lessons, I don't know, from 8 in the morning to 4 or 5 in the evening, non-stop. Not speaking about the teachers, what the kids feel like, it's another completely different topic. We had different groups of activists, like parents, who are very active in our country, and they were repeatedly going to the ministry with different other requests, or like request, first of all, to explain why did they decide to do this or that, why did they decide to add more days to the vacation, why did they decide that these hours will need to be covered during a very short period of time. Nobody replied, nobody said a thing, no explanation came. The parents are still going and trying to find out and do something about it, because they are very aware that this affects their children in not only a physical way, but also moral way. Not mentioning and speaking, of course, about the pandemic situation, because if the kids are in school for a longer period of time, the risk of getting infected is, of course, bigger. And this kind of activities or this kind of decisions at government level have a huge negative impact on the level of trust coming from the people, from the society. This is not an easy thing to just, go through and forget about it, because it affects everybody. And this is difficult to just leave aside and never remember about it.
So, yeah, you think that as I can grasp from what you said, is like the main reason is communication, that the government does not explain very well, and this shrinks the level of trust, not only in the pandemic, I guess, but overall in the organization of education. And
That's right.
it's interesting. It's interesting that with the development of communication means, in many countries, we hear that the communication from the side of government is not improved, and lack of it brings also a lack of trust. And do you think overall the organization of education needs to be changed to gain more trust, except of the communication? Because like life is changing so much. Sometimes I think that maybe how we organize our school education, how overall we have the relations between teachers and students and the parents and also the institutions of education, maybe it needs to be changed. What do you think about that?
Oh, for sure. Unfortunately, we have a very, I don't know how to qualify that, but this is somehow a controversy, let's say it this way, because on one hand, the government, the same government, states out loud and like is very, in the news and on newspaper and so on, they are very for a transformation, for changes, for let's do this way and that way and many other ways. But in fact, I think that this is common for all the post-Soviet countries that somehow suffering from that. On the other hand, they still preserve and they still keep that Soviet type of acting, of doing things, of manifesting themselves, of communicating the same. Like for us, for example, we are an NGO and we are often trying to communicate with as many possible like state government institution as possible. We are writing to the parliament, we are writing to the government, to the local, like have a very clear and very transparent communication with them about any issue that occurs for teachers or students and so on and so forth. Our recent experience, unfortunately, was very bad with the Ministry of Education, mainly because they didn't even reply to any of our messages and phone calls and anything. So it took me, I don't know, a week and something of constant calling to them so that or somebody replies. It's a nightmare because you cannot. If you know some people, for example, in my personal case, I know some people personally and I have their mobile phones, for example, I can call them directly or contact them directly via a direct email and ask for a support or help, or please check if that official letter has reached you and so on and so forth. But if you just wait for an official reply, for example, we've written an official letter to the minister and please reply. The letter was for the minister on his name. And when I called and asked 2 or 3 weeks later after I sent the letter, where is the letter now? It is sent to the documents department and then forwarded to somebody else and somebody, like these layers coming from the Soviet Union. There's that a bunch of people who are like, the security paddle or something. I don't know why they use it. I was too little to remember that period of time from Soviet Union, but they kept that. So we have a lot of public servants that actually have no role. They are just wasting budget money for nothing, just in vain. And this is also one of the things that everybody knows about, like everybody is very aware of this. Everybody knows what happens because it happened after that so-called revolution in 2009, when the Communist Party was like thrown away to the garbage because the Europeans didn't like them. And after this, democratic parties came to rule in every institution around the country. They were, I don't know, like there were 4 parties or 5 parties that made an alliance or something. And every party had a boss for a certain agency or minister and something else. Every party, like 5 parties, every party had a boss. Every boss from the party had 2 secretaries. And the secretaries, so they multiplied the number of civil servants by 10, or I don't know. There was an official research by one of our economists who is a very respected person around, and he calculated even the number, like in numbers, and the huge budget hole that this number of people is causing. And this is also causing this lack of communication and direct communication, because it would be much easier to just have the direct phone of the same minister, because he is supposed to be hired for the teachers, for us, to just have a direct contact to him, to his, let's say, secretary or other people from the ministry directly, and tell them, this happened, this is not good, this is going not in the wrong or right direction, and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, it's a complete nightmare. And as I said, despite the fact that they declare that they are democratic, they still use that Soviet models in everything.
Yeah, thank you, Larisa. I hear you. I think in the most post-Soviet space, the changes are very slow. And it's interesting that especially the sphere of education demonstrates itself quite conservative. And it would be interesting to elaborate on that too. But for now, I would like to ask you another question. Since you come from the education sphere, for me, it's obvious that institutional changes are needed. But let's look from the public perspective, and even to put government in more societal picture. What do we need to learn to gain more trust, to enhance the trust in our countries? In Moldova, what do you think the public, NGOs or people need to learn? What knowledge do we need to have? Or maybe you really think that it's not just about the attitude that we lack, the trust, but it's also about real trustworthiness and of the institutions, and it is hard to change anything from the bottom up, and we still need big institutional changes. So this wide multi-dimensional question to you.
Okay, yes, so I'll try to slice it up somehow. If we speak about raising or somehow improving the level of trust, then I think that after the elections that we had in July, and after this party that was so waited, like everybody waited for them to come to government and to start governing. After they came, like I said, 100 days have just passed. But people are very, very disappointed, and everything is going worse and worse. I don't know, maybe you've heard about it, that we are now paying for natural gas the triple price. Then yes, so we had a new contract by the new government, and it's tripled. So we had an old contract which was for like all these post-Soviet countries, the price was all the same as far as I understood, and now the renewed contract is a complete surprise, let's say so. And of course, this had a very big impact on the level of trust, because first of all, what people expected from this government was that everybody, like all the same people that I mentioned before, like civil servants, that actually okay, another parenthesis here. In 2019, there was, like, our country was declared in the parliament declared that we are in the state of a captured state because of an oligarch who just captured all the institutions in the state and so on. And then he was asked to leave by the US government through the ambassador, the local ambassador, and he, like, nobody knows why, but left Miami. That's a big question. And since then, nobody said that the state is free again, because it's clear that the state cannot be captured by a single person. So all the civil servants who executed certain orders, due to which the billion was stolen from the bank system and every other, like, big felonies happened in Moldova, were not done by a single person. So they're big groups of people who did that.
Institutional.
And nobody is punished. Moreover, the people who were also then in charge of different agencies, ministries, and so on and so forth, are still working and are still okay. So nobody touches them, nobody fires them, nobody charges them with anything. Like, and this is what people expected the most. This is what everybody wanted very much. Everybody was like, they were waiting the second day when the government will be installed, everybody will be arrested. They will start like a big cleanup. Nothing happens. On the contrary, like, big people who are known and well known by everybody, because we are a small country, like, everybody knows everybody. It's not very, a big country where you can get lost. Yeah. People who were in charge of very serious felonies, like, again, bank robberies and different other things that did really affect Moldova, us like citizens, and Moldova in general, on the international level, are just okay, living in London, living in different other parts of the world with no, nothing arrested, nothing taken from them, everything is fine. And this is really a huge, problem for our people to still go on and trust that the government or this government or the next government will do something. That's why over and over again, I hear one and the same phrase: I'm just packing up and leaving the country because I have no other way out. And this comes, of course, from young people, lots of young people who, like, lived here, like myself, for so many years, trying to change things, trying to do something, trying to make things work in another way, not in this corrupted and very bad way. But we have no support, we have no aid, and nobody listens to what we have to say. That's the bad part of all of it. One more very important thing is that this government and other governments also that were so-called pro-European and so-called democratic are supported by international institutions, like embassies, different other institutions, and so on and so forth, despite the fact that they are actually corrupted, and everybody knows about this. And this is even more deepening this crisis, because people know that they have no way out. They cannot address anyone. Nobody will hear them. Nobody, not even an international institution. You cannot go to another embassies around the country and ask for help, or tell them that, look what this guy did, look what this guy did. Because in the end, after being asked to leave, they go to Miami, and that's okay, like nothing happens. That's why the people around, I've heard when first I heard this version, I was like, what are you talking about? How is this possible? But now when I hear that more and more often, I tend to believe that this might be true, that the beneficiaries in the end of that stolen billion are these government or are these institutions, international institutions that pretend to be helping, but actually they're just involved in this corruption scheme together with the state.
Yeah, thank you, Larisa. I can see your disappointment and frustration, and I know how it is to work from the part of CSOs trying to build better country. It is sometimes motivating because you have much work to do, but also it's exhaustive. As a summary, I just want to like pinpoint the important thing that you said, to stress it once again, that trust is probably coming together with justice. What I could hear from your explanations is that people really expect justice, and once they see the justice, the trust can be hoped to be back or to be created. Thank you very much, and also thank you for raising another topic about trust in international organizations. I hope that within these trust talks we will touch upon that topic too. Thanks again and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Lina.